I'm going to, in this video, make a simple username generator program in JavaScript. So I have my Visual Studio Code opened, and it's open to my JavaScript folder, and I'm going to make a new file, and I'll call it, I don't know, user generator.html. And let me do a shift exclamation and get the Emmet abbreviation. Okay. And so I'll put for the title, username generator. I'll also give it a title of the same name. Okay. And what the user of this page will do is they're going to enter their first name, their last name, their favorite number, we'll say, and then from that, we will construct a username for them. And so this is just a demonstration of user input. So before we've just had sort of buttons, and now we're going to have a place where the user can type. So we're going to prompt for it, so that will, not prompt for it, but let the user know what they are entering. And so I'm going to prompt them for a first name. And then after that, have an input of the type text. And value will be quote, quote, it will be blank. Whatever the user types will be the value, but we'll start the value as a blank. We will give it an ID so we can refer to it in code. I usually like to call them txt, give them a prefix txt. And this will be, I could say first or first name. I'll just say first, keep it simple, less typing for me. And this is, and the input is sort of a singleton. So it's just doesn't have an open and a close, but just a one tag. And so I'll put a slash before the close angle bracket. And then you put a break tag. So then what comes next will be on a different line. And I will prompt for the last name. That up above. And then the second input of type text. Value of quote, quote, and an ID. This one will be text last. Very important, at least, that they have different IDs. And then I'm going to allow them to put in a number. Let's say it's their favorite number. Colon in there for consistency in a space. And I just want to do this. This is going to be an input in which the user will type a number, and there is a different type for that. And you can see that it's giving me some help, and I should be taking the help, but and the value will be some number, and the ID, I usually just call it text again, text num. And then I'll have an input of the button type. You can also use a button tag. Here's my input of the button type. The value of the button is just what this said on the button. And I'll say make username. And let me make a division when this is where the answer will go. And so it's going to be coded since I don't know what goes here, and then I will figure it out. So I will say div username. And for now, I'll just put in dash, dash, dash to indicate something's going there, but I don't know what it is yet. And let me save. I don't have any JavaScript, so it doesn't do anything, but let's just have a look. And so here it is. First name, last name, favorite number, make username. Doesn't do anything just yet. Okay. So now let's start with some code, and we'll start with some code for the button. So I'm going to add an attribute that will connect code to when the user clicks the button, and that is the onClick. And then I'm going to call a function. I'm going to call make username. So then I'm responsible for creating that function that goes in code. So I need to indicate that I'm sort of changing from HTML to JavaScript. So within HTML, I put the script tag, and that means that everything within the script tag will be now JavaScript. And I need to define that function I just said I would have. Make username. Open close parenthesis, open close curly bracket. And I'm going to grab the first name, grab the last name, grab the number, and then stick them all together to concatenate them. And maybe I'll throw in some special character like underscore between them. Okay, so I need to collect my information. So I'll say I'm going to call the first name first. And so I use the keyword let to say I'm going to have what we call a variable. I give it a name. I try to make sure that it's not some special word. So function was a special word, a keyword, let was a keyword, first is not. And then I'm going to go to the page, the document, small d. I'm going to use get element by ID. And then the ID of that, the first thing was text first. And then that is a whole complicated thing, an input. And but I'm interested in what's written in it, which is the value. And again, what's the value now in design is quote, quote, is nothing, but it will be something after the user types. And then we're going to do the same thing for last. Document, get element by ID, text last, dot value. So this is an assignment statement. I am taking what is on the right-hand side. So I'm going to the page document, getting an element by the ID of text last in this case. I'm getting its value property, which is whatever happens to be typed in there. And then I'm taking that and I'm making the variable last equal to it. So an assignment statement takes what's on the right, figures out what it is, and then makes the left equal to that. So now I have a variable first, which is equal to whatever the user typed in the first text first box, and another variable last, which is whatever they typed into the last. Do a similar thing for, I'll call it favnum, just have to give it a name. Doesn't matter what the name is, so long as we spell it consistently, and then it's not a keyword. And this was text num. And again, it's the value. So now I have the 3 pieces of information that I want. And I'm going to try to create a username from them. So let me make a variable for the username, let username. And I'm going to say that it is the first name. And then I'm going to add to that. I'm going to what we call concatenate. And I like underscores. So I'm going to just add the first name. Oops. And the last name. And we see that first and last are in black. They're variable names, whereas this underscore goes in quotes. It is what we call a literal string. And then I'm adding another there. And then finally, the fave num. So I'm just putting the 3 things together and calling it the username. And now that I have the username, I would like to display it. I'm going to turn that assignment statement that we have in 22, 23, 24, we're going to turn that around. And before I was taking something from the page, now I'm going to put something on the page. So this time it's on the document get element by ID is on the left. And I want to do something to that div username. What property do I want to change of that? I want to change the property known as its inner HTML. And I want to set that equal to this username variable, and I just figured out. So let's save that. And come up here, we're running. Let's refresh just to be sure. And let's enter a first name, a last name, and a favorite number, and make a username out of it. So I have created taken the first name, the last name, and the number, and used that to create some username. So that is our first go at this. What do I want to show you? I want to show you that I can type numbers here in terms of, I could say my first name was 673R. But down here, I'm typing letters and they're not coming in. So this, there's certain numbers that there's certain things other than numbers. You can type numbers here. You can type an E because an E is part of, if you're using a computer scientific notation number, E is part of it. You can use if you don't have the E, you can use a dot, because the dot is part of a number with a fractional part, a decimal part. And so there are a few things other than numbers I can type, but this, when we said the type was number, it very much limited what we could type in the box. Okay. So that's one thing I wanted to show you. Another thing I want to show you is, what if the user starts to change their mind? What if they start to change the input? So they click the button, generated a username, and now they are changing what's in the name text box. I would like to clear out the result and then force them to press the button again if they want a new answer. So the event, there are a number of events associated with all of these elements, but one of the main events for an input of the text or number type is the oninput. So this is going to call a function, So this is in any number of ways of changing what's in the box. So it could be a typing event, it could be a mouse event, you could be pasting something in that you've copied from someplace else. So that would be a mouse event, it could be a typing event, and you can get all those individual events, but the on input is sort of this a catch-all, and sort of all of the changes to what's in the box sort of fall under this on input. And I'm going to write a function that clears, I'll call it clear answer. So if they type in the first name box, I want to clear out my answer. You've got to be careful of using just a simple word like clear, because again, it may be some predefined thing. And so then you can run into some confusion. But now I've said I'm going to call a function, so it's my responsibility to define it. So clear answer, open, close parenthesis, open, close curly bracket. And what I want to do is just take out the answer. So here's where I was putting in the answer. That's a lot of the code I need. So I'm going to control copy that and control V paste that. And I'm going to set it equal to these dashes again. So if they change the first name, I am going to clear out. So enter first name, last name, favorite number, make the username, but now I'm going to change the name. And we see as soon as I started to change the name, it cleared out the result, but I can regenerate the result. All right. So that was if they changed the first name. I'm not doing anything if they change the last name. There were no changes. Okay. So I would also like to clear if they change the last name and if they change the number. And I want to do the same code. So I'm going to give them the same on click. Now it would be possible to write each individual function that is possible. But since I want to do exactly the same thing, I can use the same function. So these elements, this on input event from the different inputs can all call the same function. Then I said clear answer. So here are my results. I can change this to Tom and it clears. I can change this to Smith and it clears. I can change this and I can retype a number. And I can also use this sort of up-down arrow thing. And that also clears. So again, there was a typing event here. There was this event. I could copy a number from someplace else and paste it in there. Any number of ways of changing the number calls this on input function. Is there anything else I want to show you? One thing to be careful about when clearing is what you are clearing. So they typed in this first name box and my clear function cleared something different, cleared the div element. And that's very important. What a common mistake in something like this is to clear out the thing that the user is writing in, and then sort of nothing can happen. So it seems like it's frozen because you type but nothing happens because you're clearing the thing in which you're typing. when you explain it, of course, it seems obvious, but it is a very easily made mistake. All right. Anything else? Things we've seen before, but let's do them again just as a review. I can, when I make the username, I did not give the button an ID, but I can. Doesn't matter where I put the ID, but I'll put it here. Button make, I'll call it. I can disable the button. Document an element by ID. The button is button make. I want its disabled property to be true. And then when you, let's just start there. So Thomas. Now I cannot enter this again, but now I would like to, if they change any of the data, I'd like to re-enable a button. So it doesn't make sense. If they haven't changed the data, it doesn't make sense to press the button again. But if they've changed the data, it does. So I'm going to copy this line of code and come back down here to my clear and set the disabled property to false. And so I'm effectively enabling the button. So here is first name, last name, favorite number. There we go. Change something and it's cleared and the button is enabled. Okay. Now there's a lot of things in addition that we could do that will keep it simple for now and not do, but maybe revisit this program later on. What other things could we do? Instead of, I could take what's in what the user enters and we could put it all into all lowercase, all uppercase. So I could change the case of what they enter, or they could enter a first name and I could just grab the first initial from the first name. So, or if the user accidentally types a space at the end of the name, I think, which I did, got rid of it, but I had it there for a second. You can make sure to get rid of any empty space. And you can say, so those are things you can do. You can say if they've left it blank, sort of yell at them but not do anything else. So if they've not entered a number, if they've not entered a last name. We haven't done any of that kind of testing. We will save that for another time. We're trying to keep it relatively simple for now. So let's say I've shown you what I wanted to show you, and I thank you for your attention.